What's happening, everyone? Steve here, Cars with Steve, and today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the media screen in the 2022 Kia Carnival. Going to be going over literally everything you need to know, talking about going over Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, using factory navigation, and everything in between. Let's dive into it, have a little bit of fun, and see what's going on in the media screen inside of the Carnival. Alright, next up, let's take a peek at the media screen of the vehicle. So, a few things to point out first and foremost. We do have our just basic guest setting there is going to be our generic default, and then we can set up individual users if we've got multiple people driving the vehicle. Moving into our home screen there, we've got a series of different options, so let's kind of go through each one. We've got our basic map there, which is a nice thing because we do have factory navigation. We can easily search along the bottom. We can search by GPS coordinates if we wanted to. We could literally go Starbucks. We can start typing in an address as well. And it's kind of like an autocomplete. So if we start kind of typing, the vehicle is going to see if it can figure out what's going on with the actual route itself. If it can't find one, like I said, we can literally just search for certain things. So we want to go to Starbucks. It's going to search the map in order to let us know what's going to be local. We can literally just press. We can call if we want to, if our phone was connected, which is neat. We can save it as a favorite. We can look for parking, and we can set it as a destination there. So it is nice to know that we've got some options. We can add in waypoints, and we've got some route avoid options. So we can avoid things like freeways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. And then we can easily start our guidance along the bottom there. Okay, so route guidance is started there. We can pause the route if we want to. We can bring our menu button back up so we can look at some route. We can reroute, look at some different options, look at point of interest icons. We can save it as a favorite. Pressing that button again is going to bring that main menu up so we can figure out what's going on in the direction there. We can kind of go to different view styles for the maps, which I think is kind of neat. We can increase or decrease. We can also do a pinch to zoom, and then we can easily adjust this as well. And one of the interesting things is because if we kind of like set it here, we can now set that as a waypoint if we wanted to. So we've got a little bit of flexibility. We can push this one along the side in order to have our map showing. So we can have this stretched out along the entire side if we want to. We can set it as a destination, save, etc. Just jump back home. Jumping into our navigation menu, we've got a few other options. So we've got our route overview. We can edit the route if we wanted to. We've got our route options. We can easily cancel the route, which route's now canceled. Hopping back to our home button there again. So we've got our menu. Jumping back home, we've got our navigation menu again. We've got some different places, point of interest icons. We can look in previous destinations that we've gone to. We can easily delete these things out as well if we want to go that route. So we've got a little bit of flexibility there. We've got our address book, and then we can also see what's going on with local Kia dealerships. Moving down a little bit more, we've also got our home work address. We've got a few other favorites that we can set up there as well. So we can literally just hit it, and then we can search for it. We can look at previous destinations and things like that in order to be able to save one as a favorite. So I love the fact that we've got that option. Moving back, we've got our phone. So we do have the option of setting up Android and iPhone devices very easily inside this vehicle. Let's start off on the iPhone things first. So once we have the Bluetooth preferences screen up, we're literally just going to press OK there.
Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
Okay, and on our phone, literally what we're going to do is make sure that our Bluetooth setting is turned on, and we're going to be looking for Kia Motors. So whatever the name of the vehicle is, we're just going to make sure that it matches up. Perfect, okay. We want to make sure that the numbers match up, so we're just going to hit pair. All right, and it's connecting. It's wanting to know if I want to allow my contacts and favorites to sync, so yes, let's allow that. And the phone is now connected, so really that simple. We jump into phone there, and it's going to be downloading my contacts and things like that now, but we can go to my dial pad, we've got recent calls, we've got contacts, things like that. We can also look at my messages if we want to. So it is nice to know we can hit that in order to get the assistant going. And if we've got multiple phones connected, we can press the button along the top there in order to be able to go between different phones. So it is nice to know that we can switch between different ones very easily if we need to. Button along the top there is going to give us a few other options. So we've got our privacy mode, we can change devices, look at split screen and different settings as well. Moving back, that is going to be the basics of how we set up a phone, but one of the cool things is that we've also got this projection manager. Now, phone projection, essentially what that's going to do is give us Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capabilities. So let's start off on the Apple CarPlay side of things. So very straightforward. What we're going to do is take our USB cable and we're going to plug it into the USB port. So one that's marked USB in the front of the vehicle there. I'm going to take the opposite end of the cable and we're literally just going to plug ourselves in and watch this. Reading USB. So Apple CarPlay. Perfect. Now, something came up on screen as well. Do we want to allow CarPlay while the phone is locked? Yes, we want to make sure we do that. And we can also activate, so make sure that Siri's activated in order to be able to press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. But we hop into Apple CarPlay. As you can see, it's stretched across, looks so nice on this thing. But we've got my maps, So we've got my Google Maps, we've got Waze as well. So that's kind of a nice thing, because if you don't want to rely on factory navigation, if you have a preferred map application, you've got the flexibility to choose between which map you're actually using. So definitely a nice thing. And then one of the great things about the Apple side of things is that if we jump inside of our general settings, we go to CarPlay, we can jump inside of, we're Kia Motors on this one, and we can customize the tray. So we can literally jump and move things forward if we want to. So we can move our podcast up, we can delete some things as well, which is definitely a nice feature. Now, anything that we delete is going to be moved along the very bottom of the tray, but if we move some things around too much, we can just do a reset, and that's going to reset it and bring it back to our factory default screen instead. If we jump back to Kia there, that'll bring us back to that main media screen menu, and then we've got a little bit more flexibility here, because if we jump into setup for a second, we've got phone navigation, device connections. That's a cool one because we can look at our Bluetooth connections, and we've got some more advanced settings for CarPlay. So if we unplug for a second, we go to CarPlay, we can now use a split screen if we wanted to. So if we plug back in, watch this. So it's going to take a second. Okay, Apple CarPlay is connected, so let's go back into CarPlay. And as you can see, we've now got a split screen there. So it is nice to know that, and this is also a really nice thing because we can just use our radio while we've got Apple CarPlay or Android Auto connected as well. So if you want to go split screen or not, that's going to be a matter of personal preference, but literally all we have to do is go into setup, device connections. We do, watch this, because we're connected, we can't make changes. We literally have to disconnect first in order to be able to use split screen, enable or disable Apple CarPlay as well. But very straightforward, and we've got the same settings for Android Auto as well. And that's the basics of how we set up a phone, specifically on the iPhone side of thing. Right now, setting up an Android device is literally the exact same process. So all we're going to do is just hit add new, and same idea, we want to figure out what preferences we want to be able to use on this thing. So we're going to go both. Perfect. And it's going to disconnect the first phone.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
Okay, so we're just looking for Kia Motors on the phone. So we're just going to go Kia Motors there. Perfect, and we want to make sure, same thing, that those numbers match up, which they do in this case. And it is now connected, so that's simple. We're going to get a few other messages here in just a second. Perfect. Allow access to contacts, messages, things like that. So we are now fully connected. It's going to start downloading contacts and things like that as well. So we are fully connected. If we go back home for a second, we've got my phone now, and same thing, we're now on the Samsung. So it's very straightforward. So as you can see there, Galaxy S9, we can see battery, and we can also see a few other things. So it is very straightforward to be able to connect either iPhone or Android devices to the vehicle. And then very similar to the iPhone side of things, we do also have Android Auto capabilities. So very straightforward, same idea. We're going to take our USB cable and we're going to plug it into the USB only port. And same idea, we're going to plug ourselves into the phone, boom, and watch this. So USB, so Android Auto would like to, so we need to make sure we connect through there. Just a second, and Android Auto is now connected. So it literally is that simple to be able to set it up. And as you can see there, we are actually on our Android Auto screen there. So we're on our split screen. So we do have the option of going full screen, split screen, etc. But as you can see, we've got podcasts, we've got my messages, we've got maps and things like that. So we've got some flexibility. We can press the Google button down there in order to be able to jump back into our maps. We've got our notification center as well as our Google Assistant. And then very similar, all we do is press the Kia button to go back to the home screen. And then same thing. So we can literally go to our setup. If we want to, we go to our device connections. We can jump into Android Auto as well to go between different split screens and things like that. Now, with the phones connected, that's great. In order to be able to delete the phones from the vehicle, it's very straightforward. But as you can see there, we do have our phones connected. We've got our auto connection priority. So if we've got multiple devices connected, we can select which one the vehicle is going to go for first. So I love that option. We've got our Bluetooth connections now. So which phones are connected? We can add multiple devices, or we can just delete devices. So as you can see, we've got 2 individual devices. We can mark all. We can delete and delete, and watch this. And 1, 2, 3, and as you can see there, the devices are now deleted, and it really is that simple adding in a phone to this vehicle. All right, now moving back, so let's actually go back to the home screen for a second there. So as you can see, we're back to the home screen. We've got our phone projection, which again, that's where we would go in order to be able to add devices as necessary. We've got our voice memo screen as well. So voice memos, we do have the option of being able to set up an individual voice memo, which I think is kind of a neat setting. We've got our passenger talk, which this is interesting. So you may not be able to hear it, but what's going to happen is it's going to pick up your voice. There we go. You might hear a little bit of an echo now. And the reason why is because it's actually picking up my voice and it's throwing it to the back seat. seat. So that's kind of a neat one because we can now communicate with people without having to scream in order for people in the third row to hear our voices. So I love the fact that we've got that option there, especially if you've got young kids, because you don't have to scream over them anymore. And then we've also got our passenger view, so we can literally see what's going on behind us, which I love the fact that we've got that option. It is a pretty neat one. Moving back, we've got our quiet mode as well, so we can literally just have our media and things like that asleep for the back rows, and it's going to literally have it just for the front row instead. Rear climate control, so if you've got kids fighting in the back, we can adjust, we can literally lock out the rear one if we want to. We've got our circulation mode and a few other things, so we can easily adjust this one from the inside, and I love the way that this thing looks. Like, it looks so nice. We've got our HD radio, our basic radio, which, look at this thing. I love this thing, like, so cool, and it's such, like, so nostalgic, but we can easily scan between stations. We can change between AM, FM, Sirius XM, etc. Once we've got a station, we can press the star button in order to be able to save it as a preset. HD radio up there as well. So we've got quite a little bit of flexibility when it comes down to it. We can tune this way if we want to go that route as well, so we can easily tune there. We can just use the voice command prompt on the steering wheel though. But let's do a quick little audio test. Such an incredible sound inside of this thing. I absolutely love it, but we do have an option for an upgraded sound system when we get into the SX specific trim level, so definitely something to think about there. But that's going to be the basics of the radio. Moving back, we've also got our basic setup, and this is why I say basic, but there's quite a few options there. So we look at our vehicle there, so we've got driver assistance, so our basic convenience settings, so we've got our highway drive assist as well as our auto speed change, which is a neat one because if the vehicle recognizes certain things, so it'll be based off of our navigation, but it's going to literally help us adjust the speed as we drive. We've got our speed limit warning, so if the vehicle recognizes what's going on with the actual speed sign, it's going to potentially chime at us if we've got a notification there, so if we've got a speed limit offset. We've got our warning timer as well, and then we've also got our warning volume, so how high or low is that volume going to play? Driver attention warning, so as we start to veer over too many times without signaling, do we get a warning, yes or no? Forward safety, so if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it's going to actively brake for us. We can have it so that it's just a warning, or we can turn that system off. We've got our lane safety as well, so we can actually have it assist with us, which is a neat one, because what'll happen is if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, the steering wheel will literally take over and kind of gently nudge us back into our lane. We've got our blind spot system, so that lets us know if anybody's under the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Now we've also got our safe assist as well, so we've got our safe assist, we can do a warning, or we can turn the whole system off. Parking safety, so as we go to back up with our rear cross traffic alert, if it recognizes that there's a potential collision, it's going to let us know. We've got a few other options there. We've got our rear occupant, we've got a rear active assist, or just a warning instead. So the active assist literally is going to slam on the brakes if it recognizes that there's potential collision going on in behind us. Looking at our cluster, we've got a series of different themes as well. So if you like the look of different things, we've got that option. We've got some service intervals, so that's a neat one because the vehicle is going to let us know when we've got an upcoming service interval. We've got our reset fuel economy. We've got different content that we can have inside of this cluster as well. So we've got our wipers, icy warning, and a few other things, and we've got a basic warnings, our welcome sound, I should say. Some other things for climate, so we can recirculate air, so we've got some options there. Or auto ventilation, do we want to let the vehicle auto dehumidify? Do we want to schedule the ventilation as well? Defrost, and we've got some other climate features. So we can lock at the rear climate controls, or we can jump into the rear controls from there as well. Moving into our lights, so we've got some options when we actually go to press the turn signal. Do we want it to go just once, 3, 5, 7, etc.? We've got our high beam assist as well, which is an interesting one because if the vehicle recognizes an oncoming vehicle, it's going to dim your high beams out for you and then flip them back on again if it recognizes an oncoming vehicle. We've got some basic for doors, so we can auto unlock or lock the doors. We can turn off the remote liftgate if we want to, powered liftgate. We've got our smart sliding doors. So that's a neat one because if the vehicle recognizes the key fob, it's literally going to open up the doors for us. And then same idea. So if you're approaching the vehicle from the rear with that smart key fob, it's going to automatically open up that trunk for us. And then we can also have the liftgate auto close for us as we go to drive off. Rear occupant alert, so if we go to turn the vehicle off, we will get a message on our cluster letting us know about that. We can turn our wireless charging system on or off, and we can also turn our rear wiper on when we're in reverse. So if we've got our front wipers going, we put the vehicle in reverse, the rear wipers will automatically come on as well. We've got some navigation settings, which we've been through some of these basic ones, but we can look at the map size, different colors, point of interest icons. We've got our distance guides, our voice guidance. So do we want to have it mute as we get closer to our destination? We've got some basic alerts and a few other settings. We've got our basics for our sound as well. So if we wanted to do things like change out the positioning of the actual audio, we've got our sound tuning, so treble, mid-range, bass, our guidance ones. So as we've got different prompts coming up, do we want certain things to mute? Do we want them to go? Do we want the volumes to drop on certain things as well? We've got subsystem volumes, startup volume limit. So if you have it cranked when you turn the car off, if you go to start again, it's not going to go too high for us. All right, moving back again, we've got our device connections, which we've already seen that. So we've got our Bluetooth connections, audio, things like that. And we've got a user profile, so we can set up multiple user profiles, so if there's multiple people driving the vehicle, we can easily switch between different profile settings. We've got our voice recognition as well with a few different modes, so our beginner, normal versus our expert. I want you to listen to something for a second.
Please say a command.
97.7.
Now listening to FM 97.7.
Okay, so it let us know that it was changing the station versus if we go to the expert mode and we go to change stations again. 94.9. Okay, it didn't tell us anything, but if we jump into the radio, it's changed the station out for us. So it is nice to know that if we're in that advanced setting, we literally just won't get as many notifications. We've got our rear voice recognition as well, so we can lock out that rear one if we wanted to. Down more, we've got our display settings. So as bright and as beautiful as this display is, if you find it a little bit too much, we do have the option of being able to dim it out completely if we wanted to, but I'll actually get to that one in a second. But firstly, we can just change out the brightness of the screen itself. We can have it automatically adjust between the daytime or the nighttime mode as well. We can link it out to the cluster, so we can have both of them at the same setting if we wanted to go that route. We've got a blue light filter, a screensaver. So with our screensaver, do we want an analog digital clock or nothing showing up? Our home screen, we've got some different icons there as well, so we can adjust what the icon settings are. We've got our basic split screen, so when does the split screen come into play? And then we've got our media change notifications. So as we go between different media, it's going to let us know. Now, one thing that I pointed out when we're in this home screen, if we find it to be a little bit too much, we can just go display off, and that's going to bring it down to this calming screen instead. We push in order to bring it back to life again. So we do have a little bit of flexibility there. And then as I mentioned, just inside of the display, we can figure out on that screensaver. That's what I'm looking for. So what's going to be showing up there? So you've got a few different options as well. We've got our UVO, which are our connected services. So our connected services are going to let us do things like we can remote start the vehicle, roll the windows up and down and things like that directly through our cell phone. So we do have to have the UVO app installed on our phone in order to be able to use this one. One of the nice things is that the vehicle itself is equipped with an onboard modem, which means that we can use it as a wireless hotspot for a number of devices, but we do need a data-only plan through our cell phone provider in order for that to work. We've got some general settings as well, so we've got our basics about the actual firmware. We can actually update this thing as well, which is a nice thing. We've got your data, you've got your date and time, your basic language settings, so we've got English, French, Spanish, or Korean, different keyboards, units, and then we can also do a master reset. So if we've changed too many things around, we can just reset everything if we wanted to. Moving back again, that's going to be the basics of the setup. Moving across, we've got our basic media setup, which we can go between AM, FM, Sirius XM. We have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. If we had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up as an option there as well. All right, we've got our sounds of nature, which essentially is just ambient sound, but listen to this. So if you wanted to just have these ambient noises as you drive, you've got the ability to easily do that. And I love that fact. It's such a simple one at the same time. We've got our UVO connected services there, basic notifications. We've also got our user manual. So we're literally just going to scan this QR code on our phone in order to be able to launch into the manual there. And that is going to be the basics of this media screen. So that is a pretty feature-packed system, right? So tons of options, a lot of flexibility there. But if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your social networks. And until I see you next time, take care.